Some say the waters of Scotland hold secrets. Secrets older than kings, older than castles, older even than the land itself. And in one particular loch, deep and dark, a story lives on. It is the story of the water horse, and the boy who loved him.
In the heart of the Scottish Highlands, where the mist clings to the rolling green hills and the loch's waters hold secrets older than time, there exists a legend told in hushed voices, over pints in dimly lit pubs, and passed from one generation to the next. The legend of the water horse. But like all legends, the truth is hidden deep beneath the surface. And as an old man in a quiet seaside pub begins to speak, the room falls silent. His voice is steady, his eyes distant, as if he's reaching back across decades. This, he says, is the real story of the one they call the Loch Ness Monster. The year is 1942. The world is at war, and even the serene Scottish coast is not untouched. Vast skies rumble with the sound of passing military planes, and the quiet lochside towns carry the tension of an uncertain future. On the estate of the MacMorrough family, life is quieter, but tinged with longing. Here we meet Angus MacMorrough, a young boy of about 12, wiry and curious, his hair often tousled by the salty wind. His father, a sailor in the Royal Navy, has been away for months, fighting in waters far from home. Angus clings to the hope that one day, any day, his father will walk through the door again, his mother, and keeps the household running, her face warm but shadowed with worry. She works at the estate house, caring for the property and its grounds. Angus's older sister, Kirsty, teases him with the authority of a sibling who knows the world just a little better. But deep down, she shares his quiet loneliness. One gray, breezy morning, Angus rides his bicycle to the rocky shoreline. The tide is low, the air filled with the cries of seabirds. He searches for driftwood and shells, a hobby that distracts him from thoughts of the war. But on this day, he finds something unusual. Half buried in wet sand and seaweed lies a smooth, stone-like object. But it's not quite a stone. It's perfectly oval, almost like a massive egg, with faint markings along its shell that seem too precise to be natural. Curiosity sparks in Angus's eyes. Without telling anyone, he hides it in his satchel and pedals home, heart thumping with excitement. That night, while his family sleeps, Angus sneaks out to the old tool shed behind the house. He places the strange object on a workbench, turning it under the dim light. It's cool to the touch. But then, just for a moment, he swears he feels it tremble. Hours later, as rain taps against the shed's roof, Angus wakes to a faint cracking sound. He turns and watches, wide-eyed, as the shell splits open, and out spills a small, glistening creature unlike anything he's ever seen. Its skin is slick and smooth, a deep bluish gray that shimmers in the lantern light. It has a long neck, curious round eyes, and flippers instead of legs. At first, Angus is startled. But when the creature lets out a soft, almost puppy-like squeak, he can't help but smile. In that moment, a bond forms. He decides to call him Crusoe. Over the next few days, Angus keeps Crusoe hidden, feeding him scraps of fish and milk. The creature is playful, often splashing water everywhere from a basin or following Angus around like a loyal pet. But something becomes very clear: Crusoe is growing fast. Within a week, he's too large for the shed. His flippers are strong, his neck long, and his playful antics make it harder for Angus to keep him a secret. The fragile peace of the estate is soon broken. A unit of British soldiers arrives to set up defenses along the loch, fearing that German submarines could slip inland. With them comes Lewis Mowbray, a handyman with a roguish charm and a suspicious eye. The soldiers bring noise, drills, and strict orders, and they begin patrolling near the water. Angus grows nervous. If they see Crusoe, they'll think he's dangerous. When Crusoe outgrows even the barn, Angus makes a difficult decision. With Kirsty's reluctant help, he leads Crusoe to the loch at night. The moonlight shimmers on the water's surface as Crusoe slips in, disappearing into the depths. For the first time, the creature seems truly at home. He dives and leaps, his massive body creating waves, his joyful cries echoing across the still waters. But for Angus, It's bittersweet. Crusoe is safe, but now their time together is fleeting. Word of strange ripples and monsters in the loch begins to spread. The soldiers grow suspicious and plan to drop depth charges into the water to flush out whatever is there. Angus is horrified. Those explosives could kill Crusoe. In a tense, desperate sequence, Angus and Lewis work together to warn Crusoe. They paddle out in a small boat, shouting for him as the first explosions thunder beneath the waves. Crusoe, frightened, dives deep, narrowly avoiding the blasts. Realizing Crusoe will never be safe here, Angus makes the hardest choice of his young life. He leads Crusoe out toward the open sea, away from the loch and the soldiers. The journey is quiet, the boy's heart heavy. As they reach the mouth of the loch, Crusoe rises from the water one last time, his eyes meeting Angus's. It's a goodbye without words, filled with unspoken gratitude and love. Then, with a final leap, Crusoe disappears into the waves. The story returns to the old man in the pub. His eyes glisten as he finishes. The patrons, silent, glance toward the window where the dark waters of the loch stretch endlessly into the distance. Out there, something stirs beneath the surface. A massive shadow gliding silently through the depths. Whether you believe in legends or not, one thing is certain: some friendships never fade, and some creatures never truly leave.